Hey guys, so tonight we had Season 1, Episode 2 of Preacher, which is a adaptation of the comic book series. And if you remember, one of my gripes with the last review for the first episode is that the storyline was deviating from the comics. I had someone in the comment section point out that this show is actually a prequel to the comics, which I found kind of intriguing. But then I was questioned with the fact that, but in the first episode, he had that thing in him and he's kind of controlling people, as these special powers, which is what happens in the first comic book. He gets Genesis in him and that's what moves the storyline. That's how the whole thing starts. So I don't necessarily think this is a prequel. So can someone please comment and clarify to me if this is a prequel or not? Either way, the story is different from the comic books, and it's still one of my gripes with it. I'm not a huge fan of the storyline aspect of the show right now. The comic books are so engaging with what the story is. It's so fast-paced and so much cool stuff happening, so many crazy otherworldly things happening, and in this show it's just it's still in this small little town and I don't see where it's going, and I can't really say it's going to be the same direction as the comic books because so far it's not. The other issue I have with it is Tulip. I'm sorry, but I'm still not a fan of who they chose to play Tulip, not because of the way she looks, but just her whole personality, that whole aspect of that character. I'm not a fan of the way she's portrayed on the show. With that said, though, there are some pros to this episode that I really liked. The guy who plays Cassidy, the vampire, that guy is fucking awesome. He has a pretty sweet fight scene in this with a chainsaw and cutting people's arms off and getting stabbed. You see him sucking blood and getting healed and kind of getting an idea of his character. And he saves Jesse Custer, and you kind of start seeing their friendship starting to sort of form. And that's one thing this show does really well is the fight scenes. The last episode had some awesome fight scenes too. I feel like every episode's probably going to have at least one really sweet fight scene, if not 2 or 3 or 4. I also like seeing the Preacher kind of discovering his powers. Some things happen in this episode where you can kind of tell he's starting to realize something's different about him. And the way the show ends, it should be pretty interesting. However, overall, guys, I'm not rating this episode by episode. I'm going to rate it as a season in a whole. I'm still giving it that 3-episode test because sometimes the first 3 episodes are kind of rough. And if it keeps you engaged by the end of the 3rd episode, then it'll probably be worth sticking around the whole time. To be honest, the 2nd episode, I'm still not super engaged with it. I love the comics. I really want to like this show. There are certain aspects to it I really like. A bunch of the casting and fighting and the way it looks is cool. But the biggest aspect that I don't like, that's the biggest hindrance holding it back for me, is the story. I'm sorry, I really hope they get on track with what the story is in the comic book. Otherwise, if this whole first season's a prequel or if they're deviating from the storyline, I don't think it's going to keep my attention after the first season. I'll probably watch all these episodes just to do reviews. But man, if it doesn't pick up some pace or start leaning in some sort of direction, I don't know what to say, man. What do you guys think? Are you guys happy with the fact that the storyline in the show is different than the comic book? Do you think it's a prequel, or do you think it's just deviating like The Walking Dead kind of does? I'm curious to hear your thoughts, so comment on those below. Also, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Remember to hit that like button or that dislike button, and remember to stick around if you can handle it. Go.